Baseball opening day is right around the corner, and that means thousands of people will be drafting their fantasy baseball teams this weekend and over the next couple of weeks, including Ron Shandler and the fantasy baseball experts of Tout Wars. We're thrilled to have Ron Shandler join us here. Step into the batter's box here. It's another season, Ron. We're playing fantasy baseball. Welcome.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me on here. It's so much fun this time of year just to immerse yourself in all the information and all the spring training games. And, I live down in Florida. I have season tickets to the Mets in Port St. Lucie. So I'm 5 rows behind home plate every time they're playing. So it's just a great time of year.
It really is. Sports fans get excited about the NCAA tournament and NFL free agency and so much happening. The WNBA is coming. And of course, Major League Baseball at the forefront of the American sports fan with another season here. And we're all excited for the 2024 season, including our fantasy baseball teams. Ron, tell everybody what Tout Wars is. You've been a champion for the game and of the game. You've been a leader in the industry, someone I looked up to a great deal. You've been doing it a long time. Tell us what Tout Wars is.
Tout Wars was created back in 1998 to bring together all the different writers and analysts in the industry to compete against each other and to form these competitions where we can test out new rules. And in some ways, Tout Wars has been a laboratory over the years. So we're one of the first to move from batting average to OBP. We make the fab dollars a marketable commodity. We've tried a lot of things. Some things have stuck, some things haven't. But right now it's expanded to 8 leagues, I believe. Over 100 writers and analysts participate, both live here in New York this weekend and online. It's become a thing.
Absolutely, a big thing. And if you play fantasy baseball, you need to follow Tout Wars to learn the strategy, see how the leading fantasy baseball analysts are predicting what's going to happen, projecting their players, who's going to break out, who could be traded, who are the hot rookies that might be called up. Fantasy baseball, it really is a game of skill. We all love fantasy football. It's an oblong ball that bounces funny ways. There's only 17 games. The great part about that sport is that anyone can win. Well, I hate to break it to you. Not anyone can win fantasy baseball. You got to put your time in. You really get rewarded for the effort you put into it, not only preparing for your draft and auction, but during the season. And the Tout Wars League is a great way for you to dive in and learn winning strategies and follow the leading experts in the land, including Ron Shandler. So before we get into it, I just want to frame when I first met Ron, it was in 2011. We're covering the Fantasy Sports and Trade Association Fantasy Baseball Experts Draft in March of 2011. And Ron, with the number 2 pick overall, selects Ryan Braun, shocks the room, and says, why did we draft Ryan Braun? Well, we heard that Ryan may have had some personal issues the season before. We also got a tip that Ryan's going to steal a lot of bases this year, which nobody had. He went on to steal 33 bases in 2011, win the National League MVP award, and I just bowed down, Ron. Now, you blew me away that day. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. And the thing that was most notable was that Braun was going, I think, later in the first round. Everybody had him as an ADP of like 9 or 10. And I don't really stick to the ADPs. I use them as a guide. And I said, this is a guy who could really break out in a big way. So I had the number 2 seed, and I said, he's not coming back to me on the way back. I'm going to take him now. And so I did.
Absolutely amazing. You've been doing it a long time, and your book is out, and we'll get into that. And I've learned a lot about fantasy baseball, and I learned a lot about small business. But regarding Tout Wars, you guys have the American League auction this weekend, the National League auction, the Mixed League auction, and the head-to-head auction. And these are all different formats, and you can follow all of the auctions on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, live coverage as all the prices of the contracts are announced and the analysis. You can see chat with the winning contract bids at Playback TV. You can see the Tout Wars representatives in there hosting watch parties of their own on Friday and Saturday and Sunday morning. And the head-to-head auction, I'm proud to say, on Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern will be covered live on the Watch Party app, where we'll be gamifying a game, if you will. We'll ask predictive questions. How much is Pete Alonso's contract going to go? Who's going to be the most expensive Yankee? And we're really gamifying fantasy baseball on Watch Party. We'll put all the winning prices in there. We'll have a link in there so you can follow the rosters in real time. Really have a lot of fun. Let's get into the strategy, Ron, for people preparing for their 2024 drafts. Is there a one-size-fits-all winning formula for fantasy baseball? I mean, we all want it easy in this world. How do you tell people what's the best way to go about the strategy of preparing for their draft?
Well, there's a few things. I mean, not one of the things is not to overreact to small pieces of news and not to follow one person religiously, one advisor religiously. Everybody's got different opinions. There is no one size fits all play in this game. You can go heavy pitching, you can go heavy hitting. You could not draft closers until later in the draft. There are so many different ways to win this game. It's a matter of trying to figure out, what the rest of your league is doing and zag when others were zigging. It's that type of thing. So you just have to have fun. You pick a strategy, figure out how you're going to make it work, and just have a good time with it.
Well, it's nothing better than having a good time with baseball. We're talking to Ron Shandler of Tout Wars here. Of course, Major League Baseball rocked the world last year with changing a lot of the things to innovate their game. They sped the game up. They put more stolen bases in. How did the industry react to that last year, Ron? And what's carried over from 2023 to 2024 as far as what do we need to know? What did we learn last year about stolen bases, about the pitch clock that could help us win our fantasy baseball leagues?
Well, I think the biggest change that has impacted the way we played the game has been the stolen bases. When you see Ronald Acuna stealing over 70 bases and Estuary Ruiz, piling up the bags, that you don't need to draft a stolen base guy in the first round in order to be able to compete. There are plenty of stolen bases out there. Everybody is contributing these days. And I think the teams themselves are going to realize that they can run more. Last year was kind of a test season, and they've seen that the success rates and the rates at which players on first base will take off for second base has just opened things up for a lot of major league teams. And I think the numbers are going to even be higher this year than last year.
Ron, your name's on the great legendary fantasy baseball forecaster, which you started. You've been doing it for a long time, and it's the Bible for fantasy baseball. Very important for fantasy baseball players to understand analytics. And, we can't just take the easy approach and look at who had the most runs and RBIs and stolen bases as much as we'd like to. You got to dig deeper if you really want to win at this game. What are some of the analytics that people should be paying attention to? I mean, there's so much out there, Ron. We don't want to scare people away, but just in a thumbnail sketch, is it WAR? Is it something like, ground ball, fly ball for a pitcher? Is it the way the batters are swinging? What should we look at behind the stats?
Yeah, I mean, I think the basic things we need to look at is stop focusing so much on things like batting average and ERA. I don't even look at ERA anymore when I'm drafting my pitchers. I want to know, is he getting the ball over the plate? Are opposing batters making contact on his pitchers? So I'm looking at his strikeout rate, his walk rate. The ratio of strikeouts to walks, I think, are a simple but very powerful tool to judge pitchers and see who's going to do well. And on the batting side, I want to know how often he's making contact. If he's making hard contact, soft contact, if he's more of a fly ball or a ground ball hitter. Again, don't really look much at batting average because those are highly variable from year to year. But looking at the component stats are what's really going to open things up for you. So that's how I do it.
Tout Wars has made a name and been a leader in our industry by innovating our fantasy baseball game. You guys were the first to move to on-base percentage. There's been so many changes that you guys have experimented with. You yourself have gone into a monthly format and played around with that. What's new this year for Tout Wars? How are you guys tinkering with fantasy baseball to make it better?
Yeah, well, one of the challenges, especially in leagues that play with American-only or National League-only players, is that the way Major League Baseball teams structure their rosters now makes it very difficult to play the game on the fantasy side. There's just not enough talent in the free agent pool. So we're tinkering with the rosters this year. We're limiting the number of IL spots to 4, which is the first time we're limiting injury replacements, and we've removed one of the infield spots. We used to have a corner infielder and a middle infield. We've combined that now into just a single infield spot, and that extra position now that's available, we've made a swing position that owners can use as either a pitcher or a batter, depending upon how they want to structure their roster. So I think that's going to help open things up a lot.
You can learn more about Tout Wars on their website, toutwars.com. You could see all the touts. You could go all the way back through the years to see how many championships Ron's won and everybody else. You could find out who's playing in these auctions, the National League, the American League, the Mixed League, the head-to-head. On Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern, we've got the head-to-head coverage on the Watch Party app. Tell us, for people that play in head-to-head leagues, Ron, how is it different than a standard rotisserie-based format? Is it all about the pitching? I mean, tell us about head-to-head.
Yeah, pitching takes it's more of a preference in a head-to-head league. But I think one of the things you really want to look for are players who are consistent from week to week. Since it's a weekly game, you want to try to find players who don't get off to slow starts and then get hot. You want to stock your roster with players who you can count on from one week to the next, which is hard. It's a different type of analysis. But since you're playing it a single opponent on a given week, you want to be able to figure out how to best structure a roster to meet that opponent at his level. So it's a different game, but it's a unique challenge.
Anybody that's read your forecaster knows you're a hell of a writer, Ron, and you've done a lot of good for our industry. And I'm learning a lot in your book, not only about fantasy baseball and basically the creation of the game and all that's gone into it, but also, your path as a businessman, and no idea your journey. And frankly, how many times you've been let go. I mean, it's a story of persistence. It's a story of betting on yourself. And I encourage everybody to pick up the book, Fantasy Expert. I'm enjoying it, and I'm learning a lot, not only about the game, but about small business and your life. Tell us a little bit about why you wanted to write the book and what's in there.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I had been accumulating material for many, many years. And I thought one day I would either write a book or maybe even a scrapbook, since I've been doing this since the mid-1980s. But when the pandemic hit in 2020 and baseball stopped, I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I decided to start writing the book, and it became a thing, and it just came out. You can buy it on Amazon or at the triumphbooks.com. Yeah, we've got a lot of positive reviews, so I'm happy about that.
It's a must for fantasy baseball players and small businessmen like me, and I encourage everybody to pick it up. Read it this season with the great Ron Shandler of Tout Wars. Once again, you can follow all of the auction coverage this weekend, the National League, the American League, the Mixed League, our head-to-head league on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. You could see coverage on the Playback TV app on Saturday, and on Sunday, right here on the Watch Party app, we'll cover the head-to-head auction. We'll have a moderator in the room. The Hall of Famer Jeff Erickson will be posting the winning contract prices, and our fans will be in here commenting who paid too much, who paid too little, what happened, with Pete Alonso. Why did he go for so much money? And you'll be able to predict what's going to happen and win some fun prizes on Watch Party. Really appreciate your time, Ron. I know it's a busy weekend, and you do so much great for our sport and for fantasy baseball. Thank you for doing what you do and for giving back. I wish you great luck this season.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.